products by Sideline Sports Network. Hope y'all are all having a great Monday after Super Bowl Sunday. Obviously, Super Bowl Sunday was an exciting game. It was a high scoring game. Um, I literally was 1 point off on my second prediction. Made two predictions. One was a bet prediction, and the other one was just a internet prediction. Uh, Luckily for me, the bet prediction was closer. Also, I had some square things going. Anyways, Super Bowl went good for me. I picked Kansas City to win. They won. Regardless whether it was because of a call or no call or whatever you want to say, at the end of the day, uh, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs bring home the Lombardi Trophy. Back to Kansas City with their generic war chant. But I guess a generic war chant is better than no war chant at all. Pretty much this episode, we've got James Coleman that's going to be coming on. He was in Phoenix, Arizona the entire week up to the Super Bowl. He got there, I believe, on Sunday of last week, and he stayed all the way until Saturday of this week. Got all of his interviews in. He interviewed Josh Sweat, Derek Nottie, Can Do, like a bunch of Florida State guys that are on both teams, trying to see what it's like, from being a Nole to going to a Super Bowl. Obviously, there was, Derek Nottie and one other one. If the Eagles would have won, 4 Noles would have taken home the Lombardi Trophy. But the two from Kansas City Chiefs end up taking it home. Great game, in my opinion. I think it was very entertaining. It wasn't one of those boring Super Bowls where there's only 10 points scored. And I think the defenses stood up at times. The way football is going. College football seems to be the same way. We're all looking for these dominant defenses. Outside of what Georgia's done over the past year or two, that's about as dominant as a defense is going to get. I even think in the NFL, it's about as dominant as it's going to get. The game has changed so much due to new rules, the speed of the game, the spread out of the offenses, etc. So we're getting what we get. But while we're waiting on James Coleman to get in here, he's setting up all of his stuff. He is getting all of his information together as well. Florida State softball team opened up this past weekend, and we're going to bring on a guest, Hunter from Renegade Sports Report. Will be giving us the rundown on what happened with the Seminoles softball team, what the Lady Noles were able to accomplish, and what one little mistake happened, what that means for Florida State moving forward, being this is the opening weekend that we just came out of. So I'll bring Hunter on real quick. How's it going, Hunter?
Hey, good to see y'all again. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, you were actually I don't know if you got to see all the games, but I know you got to see some of them in person. Kind of give us a rundown of how your weekend was, what games you did see, and kind of what you see going on with the Lady Noles.
Yeah, we was there all weekend, and first off, I kind of want to start on something that kind of concerned me a little bit, and that's losing some of the experience from last season. We lost Danielle Watson and Sydney Sherrill, and usually when you talk about losing 2 players, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but these 2 players were really key contributors last year to what we did. And I'll dive into that a little bit more in just a minute, but I want to talk a little bit about some of the experience going back. You have Area 51, Michaela Edenfield, who had 16 home runs last year, Kaylee Harding, Devin Flaherty, Kaylee Mudge, Muffley, Mac Leonard. The list goes on and on. And then, of course, you have Catherine Sandercock coming back, who had 159 strikeouts last year alone, which is impressive. You bring that in with a couple of transfers. Royalty, she has 158 career strikeouts, and Katie Dack, who we was talking about off screen a minute ago, had 13 home runs last year. And then you bring in a freshman pitcher, McKenna Reed, who I see is all the buzz on social media. So it's looking good. There's some things that can be cleaned up that I'll get into in just a minute. The only game I didn't make it to was the first game, Lipscomb. I made it there in the 6th inning. So It wasn't much going on there. Kat Sandercock, she threw a full game. We beat them 3-0. Catlin gave up one hit, and there really wasn't much to talk about. Edenfield had a double that scored Way Kaser, and then she would score on a sac fly by Muffley, and then Kaylee Mudd, she scored a run. So that was the first game. The second game against Lipscomb, we beat them 4-1, and I'm sure you guys have seen it. We actually had a Sports Center top 10 that night by the human highlight reel, as I say, Josie Muffley. How she caught that ball, I don't know, but it was impressive. She got the out, and that's what mattered. In that game, Allison Royalty, she started in the circle. She threw for 4 innings, only gave up 2 hits and 1 earned run and 2 walks. McKenna Reed, this was kind of her coming out party, if you will. She had 3 innings pitched, 6 strikeouts, no walks, no runs, flawless. The Noles that evening, we had 8 hits on 4 runs, including a Harding RBI. She brought Edenfield home. Edenfield actually got her first home run of the season that game. And then Autumn Belvi had an RBI. And Amaya Ross scored on a Janai Kerr RBI single. Really, the only time I saw the Lipscomb Bison's fans stand up, they had 1 home run in the fifth inning to tie the game 1-1. So that was the first two. Those went sort of status quo to Florida State softball. But then we had the infamous Longwood game. Longwood was a team who I feel was sort of underlooked a little bit. You can tell who Florida State was really targeting this weekend, and the toughest opponent was going to be Purdue. And it was really a reality check early on for the Seminoles. The Lancers, they had hot bats. And then, we did things like we changed the lineup. We made some position changes at third base, moved Kaylee Harding there, and it didn't work. You can tell that she's meant to be in the outfield. That's where she should be at. And, in my opinion, I think we should keep her there. There was only one scored error that game. I feel like there should have been more than one. And it was just crazy things. I mean, like the ball would hit the dirt and it would just spin in the dirt. Defender go to pick it up and it just spin away from him. It was just crazy things like that. And then you couple that with the rain and then another rain delay. It was a long game for the Noles. We rallied late, but we did come up short. And we left 7 on base that game. And on a game that the score was 4-5, it's a lot to leave on base. We scored 4 runs, including Katie Dack's first home run of the season, which was a 3-run shot, and then a sac fly RBI by Janai Kerr, who scored Mudge. The Lancers had 12 hits and 5 runs. 3 of them was earned, 2 of them wasn't. And, 4 strikeouts across 3 pitchers with no errors. So that was kind of the gut check of the weekend, if you will. But then later that evening, and when I say that evening, I mean about 10 o'clock at night, we played Purdue. We were at the complex till about 1 o'clock in the morning, not complaining, happy to see softball back. But you could tell that the Purdue game was really a bounce back game. Cat threw the complete game, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. And Purdue really didn't have much going on offense except for scoring 1 run in the second inning to tie it up at that point. We came to life with 10 hits, 6 walks, scored 8 runs in that game. We had 4 RBIs by Harding, so she had herself a night. And then, including with those 4 runs, she had a 2-run home run. So the bats were there for us. We're getting a lot of doubles and triples, including an RBI double by Mac Leonard to score Harding again. And then Katie Dack, she had her second home run of the weekend, scoring Mac Leonard. And then Flaherty scored on the fielder's choice. So it was good to kind of see that bounce back. I was kind of concerned going into game 5 yesterday, how we would respond with such a long day. And then, essentially getting out of the park at 1 o'clock in the morning, there wasn't much rest to be had. Then yesterday, Longwood played them again in sort of a revenge game. And the first 3 innings really seemed like a pitcher's duel. There wasn't much going on. Max, she started in the circle, gave up 1 hit, 1 walk, no runs, struck out 2. And then Royalty, she came back in and she pitched for 3 innings, gave up no hits, 2 walks, no runs, and 5 Ks. And then McKenna Reed, she finished off the game with 3 strikeouts, no walks, runs, or hits. So it seemed like it seems like we started where we needed to be at. We faltered a little bit, moving people around, seeing who worked where, and that's what got us that one loss. But ultimately, we came back and we finished the weekend off the right way. And then, of course, they just announced the other day, instead of playing a single game against FAMU tomorrow, we're playing a doubleheader starting at 4 o'clock. So that'll be good for us going into this next weekend to the Clearwater Classic, where the tough opponents are really going to be coming up.
Who was it that was pitching when we lost to Longwood?
For us or for them?
For us.
So that was Dubois. She gave up several runs. She got a little flustered. Royalty came in. So it really started with her and Emma Watson. She came in after her. And it wasn't so much the pitching as it was, as I said a minute ago, the errors. They only scored one error, but there should have been more than one scored. Dubois, she did all right, and so did Emma Watson, but it just wasn't that, classic Seminole pitching performance and defense that we've all come to know and love.
So we'll be going to the Clearwater Classic come this weekend coming up, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I was about to say that the last that I looked at that, which was earlier, not earlier today, earlier this past week, I was a little bit worried about the Clearwater Classic just due to the amount of talent that's come down there and the opponents. But I mean, a good warm up weekend. Other than we dropped one this time last year. Florida State was 4-0 at this point. We dropped one early this season. Hopefully that gets us out of our system. Florida State was projected to win the ACC at the beginning of the season. Obviously, that one loss won't stop us from being able to pull that off. One loss in softball is not like one loss in football. It's completely different, as we all know. Did baseball kick off this weekend, or is it kicking off next weekend?
So baseball kicked off Fan Day, and they had their Garnet and Gold scrimmage this weekend. We didn't get to make it to it because of the softball schedule, but they start this next weekend, the first series of the season. So
awesome. So as the fan experience goes, for your side of it, obviously, we've started this thing where, so y'all understand this. We announced Renegade Sports Report by Hunter a few months back. Spiritix is in full. We fully support what he's doing as far as softball, baseball. There's going to be some basketball stuff that comes up. He's also going to talk about football. He's not going to leave that out. But for the major part of it is you're going to see Hunter. He'll be starting his own podcast. His own show will be coming up as well. But we will have him during the softball season and the baseball season. We'll have him on as often as he can be on, so we can get these types of updates, because it's impossible for me to keep up with softball, baseball, recruiting, and then what's going on with the football team. I don't have the time to do so. If y'all were paying me more, I could. Joking. But if I was getting paid, I could do this, but I can't. So, long story short, Hunter's going to be a very familiar face. He does a really good job. As you could tell how he was giving the statistics of the game. Actually being at the game helps that. Going through the rain delays, getting it from a fan aspect, also someone knows how to explain the game. It helps a lot. So if you're not following Hunter at Renegade Sports Report on Twitter, or you haven't looked up his Facebook group page, which is Renegade Sports Report. Also, do you have an Instagram?
No, I don't have an Instagram.
So you can find him on Twitter and Facebook, and he will shortly have. I'm assuming a YouTube page, so his podcast and stuff goes. If not, it'll just be a podcast. But you'll be able to find all of his stuff, and in this video, I will get all of the links to his Facebook page, also to his Twitter, and anything else that he might have that you can go and follow, because he'll continuously put out, probably coming up with articles soon, stuff to that nature, of keeping everyone up to date as much as possible. Hunter, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else that you want to possibly cover or say before you get out of here?
Yeah, a lot of the games aren't easily to be found on TV. So definitely check your ACC Network extras, your ESPN Plus, ESPN Classics, ESPN. Check those channels. Support the girls. They're doing the same thing the guys are. They just don't get the same recognition. We're working on that. They deserve the recognition. We went to the first pitch party last weekend. That was a lot of fun, a lot of support there. So definitely check it out. Buy tickets, come to the games. I know that they used to just have the grass berm, on the third base side. They've changed that. They've built sort of a party deck there where you bring your own bag chairs. They have bars there so you can put your drinks and stuff. So they're enhancing the fan experience one step at a time to make it more enjoyable for everyone. So definitely come check us out. And I do look forward to coming back on the show soon. So
Yes, sir. We'll see you probably next Monday after the Clearwater Classic happens. Get those updates from you at that point in time. Be safe. I don't know if you're going to that, but if you are, be safe. If not, be safe. Just let us know what the softball team does, and we appreciate you coming on.
appreciate it, Chip. Good to see you again, buddy.
Good to see you, bud.
Go Noles.
Well, we got James Coleman waiting in the behind the scenes here, backstage, as you would say. As I told y'all at the beginning of this, James Coleman went to Phoenix and covered the entire Super Bowl week up to Super Bowl day. So we'll get him on and let him talk a little bit more about, what his experience was like there at the Super Bowl in Phoenix, and also what the interviews were like and whom he got to speak to and the nature of what it was all about.
What's going on?
Watch out, buddy. We ain't doing nothing besides talking about Florida State softball. We just had Hunter on from Renegade Sports Report, which is a sister company to Spirit Addicts now. But just got the rundown. Michaela already got a home run. I forget who he said had two. Someone got two this weekend. But anyways, we're 4-1. We lost one game that we shouldn't have, but other than that, we're doing pretty good. I know we talked about it a little bit Thursday about you being there in Phoenix and stuff to that nature, but you had not finished your trip at that point in time. So there was. I'll get into this a little bit. There was, and you can find this video on James's Twitter, or I think it's on YouTube as well. But he's got a bet with a particular Hurricane about Florida State football versus the Miami Hurricanes this year at Doak Campbell. James, you can let everybody know what the stakes are for that and also who you had the bet with.
Oh, well, I've got me and you as well. Not for this one particular, but we've got a lot at stake on this season. I feel like I'm a coach. Like I need these guys to be good. So like I need them. But Reggie Wayne, UM legend, great wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts as well. Consistently making that final list, the list before the list for the Hall of Fame. I've gotten a chance to become, through some mutual friends. We see each other 2 or 3 times a year. Well, not just like one-offs. Like we will literally, like I'll see him again at the end of the month in Indianapolis, and we will smoke cigars. We will drink. We will tell elite lies that as athletes, he has more elite lies because he was a better player than I was. But our love of cigars, trumps all. So he comes in, and I want to say I did not talk any trash. He accosted me, and he said, let's bet a box on it. And I said, you want to bet me? And I said, straight, you want to bet it straight up, right? And he said, no. I mean, excuse me. I said, you want to bet the spread? He said, no, straight up, win or loss. I was like, in that case, put 2 boxes on it. I was like, I'll bet you. I was like, the funnier part of the story, though, Chris, that you didn't get a chance to see, if you go on there, I'll make sure. He responded to Ed Reed walks in, right? And anybody who's been following me, I said some good things about Bethune-Cookman in the Ed Reed situation. So we got a chance to talk about that. I'm not afraid to talk to anybody about anything, by the way. But then Ed hears us betting, and he says, man, I want to get in on it. He's like, I bet a box too. I said, you're going to bet me a box for the FSU Miami game? And you know what Ed Reed said? No. I thought you were talking about the Super Bowl. He's like, I've seen what's going on in there. And I don't He said, I know I was there close. I know what they got. I told him that shout out to Chris Berman for bringing up the little known Black history fact that it was Abraham Lincoln's birthday on the day that the first day that two black quarterbacks were playing against each other in the Super Bowl. And what I told them, though, without knowing that, I said, I already know what we're going to beat you by. We're going to beat you by the Abe Lincoln. They're like, what you mean by that? 4 score and 7 touchdowns. That's what we're going to beat you by. So but it was fun. It's all in good fun. I'm going to definitely get an expensive box of cigars because I know he can bet it. But I will say this. I've talked trash about how I bet for people when they feel super strongly about stuff. I bet salaries. I want you to uncomfortable. I want the bet to mean something. I was nervous because he's got a lot more money than me. If he would have made that bet, I could have been in a bad spot. Cigars is something I have a lot of or have access to. So it'll be fun to get a nice box of cigars on Reggie Wayne, though.
Absolutely. And obviously there was, the air was cleared with Ed Reed. James was just making statements about, stuff that had happened with Bethune-Cookman and how Ed was reacting to a situation possibly. And Ed got to explain himself a little bit. Not that he was explaining, but he expressed why he was acting the way that he was. And it made a lot more sense. There was a lot more behind the scenes than what the videos had put out to show, obviously. So he got to clear the air, and James obviously gets to understand more about where he's coming from versus what we all were thinking. So that was good.
Extremely humble guy. Awesome to hang out with. Very fun. But you can really see the passion and what it was, and he just let it get the best of him. I attribute it to this. He's not. So yeah, he's old. So social media really transpired my last 2 years at Florida State. So I mean, you had things like College Club, you had Black Planet, things like that, but they weren't like your old school Yahoo and AOL message boards. But it's nothing like what it is today. Facebook came along, I think, my junior year in college, and you had to be a current college student with a college email address to be on Facebook. MySpace, not as interactive. Hell, when 20 years ago, everybody didn't have a laptop or access to basically a laptop and a phone. So Ed is in that generation that didn't have it. So it missed him one. He was just at the tail end of the generation that got it. So he's old. He doesn't know how social media really works. And really what ended up happening, he was upset with Bethune-Cookman, but he doesn't understand how to interact with trolls. So
Right.
Guys were coming in the chat, challenging him and calling him out. And he was really going after that and got him riled up. And then, but the cool thing is he's even willing to admit that he didn't handle it in the best possible manner, in the most professional manner. But when you see him and you meet him, you're like, wow, this is way different than the guy who I saw. I just knew people who knew. Matter of fact, me and Reggie talked about Ed on Wednesday, and then I saw him on Friday. Also, that was in that cigar lounge. This is why I tell people, like, Chris, we gotta get you. You gotta come. Chip, you can come too. But I gotta come to Vegas next year for the Super Bowl. Can't promise I can get you in the game, but I can promise you all the stuff that we're going to do leading up to the game is going to be incredible. You have no idea who you're going to meet. I met Darrell Rivas, and yes, I did stand up for my dog, my teammate, Antonio Cromartie. I said, hey, man, we team Crow over here. He had a lot of great things to say about Crow. Said a lot of things about Crow that are very true, that I know to be true. But it was just I always tell people, it's not the big time parties that you're going to go see everybody. It's the business always happens on 2 places, the golf course and the cigar lounge. If you can handle a little bit of smoke, you're going to have a lot of fun. And you're going to hear some elite lies told by a lot of guys. And it was great, fun times. I love the one thing that we all have outside of our respective rivalries is that when you've worn that shield, and even if you haven't gotten a chance to wear the shield, which the shield is the NFL logo, if you've donned that helmet at a pretty reputable program, it's a brotherhood, it's a fraternity, and guys are pretty cool.
Absolutely. Well, James was able to interview quite a few of the Noles that were in the Super Bowl. A couple were from the Eagles, a couple from Kansas City. Those interviews are up on his YouTube page as we speak. So make sure that you go over there and check those out. But he was able to speak to Noddy. He was also able to speak to Sweat and Kane Do, I think, is another one.
Kane Doe,
Kane Do.
J Rob, and Marv.
Oh yeah, Marvin Wilson. So we'll just pick one. What was your interview like with Josh Sweat?
Josh Sweat interview was really, really good. The one thing I gotta teach these guys is how to use their diaphragm when they talk. So like, but to their defense, rookie mistake on my part. I left my microphones and I left my camera with the boom mic. So it was a lot of things that I will make sure we don't have those problems come to combine and then next year. But I'll say this. So Josh Sweat, Kane Doe, and then Nandi, you can see the maturity in Josh, and you can see, Josh left right before tag came, if I remember correctly. And you can hear about him saying, like, hey, it's a disappointing year that they had, but he's grown. This year he's been excited, working really, really hard, and him absolutely reveling and loving the fact that Florida State actually had a 10-win season. Janoris Robinson, similar sentiments. And Janoris and I think Josh said it off air. He didn't say it on air. Both talked about what it was like interacting with Mike Norvell in year one and the struggles. And neither one of them liked it. But in maturity, they could see what it was that he was building. They can understand what he was trying to do. And then they had, if both of them said, based upon them stepping out of that world and kind of seeing it, they knew that this was going to be the path. They understood that Florida State would eventually be back, and what, a lot of people, but they also understand that nobody holds themselves to a standard higher than Mike Norvell. I actually was cleaning out my my iPhone, my memory bank, and I stumbled upon some clips from my first interview with Mike Norvell. And man, I always tell people, this is why it's important to listen to the Sporadics, listen to the Den Media Group, listen to go into the non, I guess, reputable or the big ones, because sometimes you're going to get information that's raw. You're going to get information that's going to be good for you, and listen from a perspective, because these aren't canonized cupcake answers. Because at the end of the day, I know for me, I don't have to have a media badge to get access everywhere I want to get at Florida State. And I know I'll be a Florida State Seminole until they put me in the grave. I scored in both those end zones and bled on that field. I'm going to ask what I believe is important to ask. And Mike Norvell, and people think I just came up with this standard thing. It's 5 different clips. And you know what Mike Norvell's talking about? The standard and the process and doing these different things. And when you go back and you listen to these guys do their interviews, the Kendo, and then even Nandi, who literally talked about the Kansas City Chiefs, and from what he learned from Odell was, we have a standard, and that's why we're good. That's why we're in the Super Bowl. While he played in his 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years, winning 2 of them, because there's a standard. Now, it's not there to make you feel bad if you don't achieve it, but it's like when my son with his report card, the A is the standard. If you get a B, I'm not going to pat you on your butt and say, good job. I'm going to spank your bottom until we get an A. If you get an F, I'm going to kick your bottom until we get an A. It's not because I dislike him. Doesn't mean I don't love my son. Doesn't mean I'm not going to exhaust and spend every resource to make sure he can get that A. But I'm not going to come and tell him that anything other than the A is any good. I don't care if the power, like we dealt with COVID. Nobody cares. Bill collector didn't care that, I was sick. They said they need their check. They need their money. So that's kind of that's an elite mindset. And that's why you can see these guys being successful, being a part of organizations that are good, that are elite, that are trending in the right directions. Because even though it wasn't showing on the field, it was innate in the young men that were recruited here, and they knew what it was. It was just incubated. Somebody had to come in there and wake it up a little bit, and that's what Coach Norvell was able to do. But to hear Kendo and Sweat talk about that, it was great. Everybody's happy. And there was one thing, common denominator between 5 of those interviews. You know what that was? They all spoke highly of one Odell, or as we call him, the furniture. He's there when you move in. Odell Higgins, they spoke about him. 90 kind of went in detail about what it was like to be coached by him. And it's just, it was very, it was one of those things where you're like, man, I hope somebody talks about me like that when I'm older and I've done some stuff. Because you know, I don't know if Odell's ever sat back and think, you know, when you've done it this long, spend a lot of time away from your family. And these young men become your family. Like I tell people, Billy Sexton, my position coach, was more of a dad to me than he could have ever been to Wyatt. He was around me more than he was around his own son. It's impossible. But you're sitting there, you're spending all this time with these guys. A lot of them go on to become great men. Some don't make the best decisions, and those things weigh on you. But to see guys talk about him like that, I love the fact, and I was glad to be able to capture that because I'm going to send the clip of that, like just a little thing, a little highlight to Odell, because I believe in giving people their flowers while they can still smell them.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we had Noles there that were going to be playing in the Super Bowl, but Battles Inn made sure that they had 2 current Noles go and represent Florida State at the Super Bowl in Jordan Travis and Trey Benson. You know, it's pretty cool when you just look from the outside in. They got to ride in a private jet. Well, they got to meet up with Derwin James, and they had a ticket, obviously, to the Super Bowl. You can go look at this complete story on own3.com. You can check this out. Own3NIL to be exact. You can go check it out. There's a link for a YouTube link, and you can check it out. They show the entire process because what Jordan and Trey did was took over Instagram for Battles Inn, and they showed you pretty much their entire their entire experience going to Super Bowl 57. So go check that out. It was really cool. But they, you know, this being the first real year of being able to get out and do all these things with NIL, and Florida State's collective and Battles Inn making sure that we had 2 current Noles go and represent, you know, us as a whole. It was pretty amazing to see. It was pretty cool to see, you know, their entire trip play out. Obviously, you don't see every second of their trip, but you get to see a good portion of it and really understand what it's like to be one of those guys. James does things very similar to that. He has on his YouTube page where you can become a member, and you can pretty much, not only will he show you those things, but you could be entered in the chance to go with him to go see all these things in person. So if you're not doing that, make sure that you go over and become a member, and you get those opportunities moving forward. Because just like, I should have grabbed this before I started, but just like if you are a Platinum Chief member, and only a Platinum Chief member, if you're a Platinum Chief member, every month I'm going to be giving away stuff like this. That is a chrome mini helmet signed by Coach Norvell. So every month I'll be giving stuff away to that nature. I've got honor cards of some of the great Noles. I've got just exclusive memorabilia that, yeah, you can probably go find a signed Norvell helmet, and it's probably $160 to $200 something, or you can become a member on Spiratics, and you'll get a chance to win it for a way less cost. And if you don't win the first month, you can win the second month. If you don't win the second month, you can win the third. If you don't win the third, you can win the fourth. But as long as you're a Platinum Chief member, you're always entered to win those things. You're also entered to win tailgate tickets. You're also entered to win tickets to the game. As soon as I get confirmation of this, it's very potential that you'll get dugout tickets to the to the opening game of the season against LSU at Camping World in Orlando, Florida. Dugout seats are like being on the field. If you are a Platinum Chief member, and I do get the access to those tickets, you will be entered to win those tickets. So make sure that if you're not a member of Spiratics yet, and the YouTube page that you go check at the bottom of this video when it's over with for the description of join, and you can become a Platinum Chief member. If you're not a Platinum Chief member by March, I think it's 5th. If you're not a Platinum member by March 5th, you can't win what's going to be up for March. So March 15th is when I'm giving away the first item. So if you're not in by March 5th, you can't get it because I'm not going back to see everybody that joined at the last minute to try to save $2. Come on, don't do that. So if you haven't become a member yet, make sure you do. Obviously, there's still some recruiting news that's going on with Florida State. Chip, I'm going to ask you at any given time, what's going on with your page as well, because James and I are not the only ones giving things away. So Chip is also giving stuff away on his page. Chip, let them know what it is and where they can find you so they can get a better feel for it.
On Concord A50, once I hit 2,000 members, I'm about 500 members away. I have the alternative white mini helmet autographed by Jordan Travis, Trey Benson, and Dylan Gibbons that will be given away to the winner. The person in second place will get an autograph FSU 8x10 of a former player, and third place will get an autographed card from a former player.
That's awesome. So as y'all can see, there's a lot of perks to following us. There's a lot of perks that you will be able to get by subscribing to our pages. There's things that we are trying to do to enhance the Florida State fan experience. It's not, we have Noles that don't ever get to come to games. We've got Noles that don't own one piece of memorabilia. We've got Noles that don't have anything since Bobby Bowden's era in their home. So we're trying to change that. I'm trying to make sure that I get, and James gets, and Chip gets all of these things to you guys. And yes, all of these things, by everybody coming together, it creates the opportunity for you to receive memorabilia. It gives you the opportunity to get to games, to the tailgates, to the locker rooms. There's all these things that we want to do. As long as people subscribe, become members, stuff to that nature, you will be entered to win those things. I have successfully had 10 giveaways so far since Spirit Addicts has started. I've also done one NIL deal from Spirit Addicts as a big one. I've done many, but one big one was to Robert Scott for $5,000. So with that said, I obviously hold up to my word. I don't not do what I say is going to be done. I've got a couple of fans right now that I've got mini helmets getting signed by Odell and by Coach Norvell. I'm waiting on them to get back. But as a favor, I got them sent off and made sure that they're getting done so that he can get it back. And I'm going to take it a step farther and also have a letter of authentication so it's not in question whether that's really their signature or not. Because you just don't ever want that to be a question. So just like with this one that I'm going to be giving away, it's also on the bottom. And there's also a card inside of authentication that is real. And that's really his signature. So we won't be giving you any bogus merchandise. We won't be giving you any bogus hopes. We 100% will make sure we come through with what we say. So make sure that you become a member, and we'll make sure that you get what you deserve. Obviously, Florida State's still recruiting in 2024. For 2024, excuse me. We've had a couple of athletes put us in their top 15 over the past couple of days. If I could get to where I want to go, I'd be able to tell you names. But right this second,
did I tell you why you're looking for that? They offered my boy, John.
Florida State did?
Yeah, DB from Mandarin. I was talking about him. It's pretty. I don't think we're gonna get him, but we offered him though. It was pretty cool.
Well, why do you guys say it like that? Why we can't get him? He don't want us?
Nah, we just gotta work. Actually, anything, you just gotta work. It should have been.
We're late. Are we late to the show? Big time.
Yeah, just a little late to the show. That's all. Just gonna have to work a little bit hard. But I got faith in Pat Surtain. Or Surtain. That's
I
it.
don't know how he says it. I've heard people say Surtain. It's spelled Surtain,
Yeah.
but I've heard people say Surtain. I haven't went and listened to how he says his own name. But regardless, y'all know who we're talking about. But anyways, we've got stuff heating up in the trail for JoJo Trader. We got stuff heating up for a lot of the guys that we've been talking about. There's we're in a dead period right now, but there's still guys dropping their top 25. I can't remember. It's Kalen something, but this kid's out of Valdosta, Georgia. He's a 6'4" tight end. He's a 4-star. He's got Florida State in his top 15. He just dropped his top 15 a couple hours ago. So make sure that you go and give this young man a follow. He's very high on Florida State, even though he's dropped his top 15. The last conversation that I heard was that Florida State was leading the pack. They were doing the best at keeping in touch. They were doing the best at showing him what is what. I don't know if y'all have noticed this, but between Coach Dugans and between Chris Thompson and Mike Norvell, we go after some big bodies, not just at tight end, but also at wide receiver. Just like this year, you're going to have a 6'4" tight end, a 6'7" tight end, and obviously Johnny Wilson being 6'7" in the wide receiver position. Then you've got what's the kid's name that listen to me. He was a quarterback at Illinois. Now he's a wide receiver here at Florida State.
Deuce
Spann. He will be also a wide receiver. He's 6'4", 6'5", somewhere around there. We've got a lot of big bodies as wide receivers, big targets for our quarterbacks, and very capable targets. They're not just big; they're also quick. They also run very good in route. So we've got a lot of weapons for this offense. And then, Micah Pittman squeezes in there at 5'9", 5'10", whatever he is. He'll squeeze in there and get one underneath and take it for 20 yards or something. But we've got, according to the PFF grade, which I've told everyone this before, but according to the PFF grade, Florida State has 82%, which is more than any other college, 82% of returning production. And I've told everyone that in spring, I think we might fall underneath that just due to attrition that will happen. I don't think it's going to be starters, but I do believe that we're going to lose some value pieces that might not be starting that feel that they should be. So then we'll be picking up some more pieces in the summer through the transfer portal. But I've told people that this is the last year that I expect Florida State to be heavy in the transfer portal. I think that we always get guys in the transfer portal, but this how heavy we are in this portal game right now and last year, I think that goes away with the 2024 class. And then we'll start recruiting harder because all we're doing is putting pieces in that were missing when we first got here, as far as when Norvell first got here. There were pieces missing that we needed immediate impact for. So that's the reason why I think Norvell and staff have been so hard on getting these guys from the transfer portal. Chip, what I'm going to ask you to touch on a little bit is Florida State's running game this year. Obviously we lost Dylan Gibbons, but I think Casey Roddick coming in and Bless Harris being able to come in, he was only able to play one game last year. Their offensive line is going to be probably one of the best in the country. Mm-hmm. So our running game should be able to really show out. Mm-hmm. I know we're all excited to see Trey Benson. Everyone's excited to see Trey. Do you feel like what's the young man's name that came from Penn State? I can't remember his name, but he's a transfer from
Keziah Holmes.
Yeah, Holmes. I don't know if you've watched any tape on him or film, but if you haven't, everyone go check him out. I've heard that he's the best of both worlds. He's a Trey Benson / Trayshawn Ward. So what do you think our running back room is going to be able to establish this year at Florida State? Do you think this will be one of the better running back rooms that Florida State's had? Or what are your thoughts as far as running game goes?
Well, you got to look back in the history of, former running backs at Florida State. And go back as far as Sammy Smith, Dexter Carter, Sean Jackson, Wart Dunn, Nick Maddox, Cheney. Oh, wow. We've had some really, really good running backs. We got a really good fullback that was in the backfield for FSU every week with us. And he knows more about, guys that he played with that, but this backfield alone is top 3. And, one name that nobody really mentions that they should is Rodney Hill. I believe he's going to turn heads this year. We got to see little pieces during the season. Hell, first game of the year. He was maybe what, James? Don't you say he was probably about 4 or 5 carries away from breaking 100 with everybody else?
I don't even think even that. Like he was close. Like he was trying. He was trying to break a long run.
And then you throw in CJ. Like, dude, our backfield is deeper than it's really ever been in I'd say at least the last 5 or 6 years. And that's no knock on Cam or how do you pronounce his last name? First name, Jaquez?
Jaquez Patrick?
Yeah. That's no knock on them. They were both 1,000-yard. Jaquez is junior. So, but to me, this backfield is going to be 10 times better. I'll look for Ben to hit no less than 1,300 to 1,400 yards.
Depending
carries because of how spreads the ball around.
Yeah, your mic was cutting out. That's the reason I thought you stopped.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good. But I thought that Corbin should stick around an extra year before he left. Corbin went on to the NFL. Ended up, I don't know if he got cut or if he's still with the Giants on the practice squad. But I thought that Corbin should stay another year before he left. But Corbin was a good back. Cam Akers obviously was a great back. Cam Akers went through the toughest part of what Florida State went through. A dynamic back who had very little help on the inside or outside. When I say inside, I mean linebackers, outside wide receivers. Didn't have a whole lot of help. And we had Blackman who just couldn't get things clicking, also was always on his back. So I think what Florida State's going to be able to accomplish this year in the run game is a lot like what Chip just said. Not just because they're great backs, but because of what team is around them. They are probably going to be looked at as one of the better back rooms that we've had in a decade. I think it's very easy to say that Florida State should be able to run on most people at will whenever they feel like it, especially with all the different types of backs that we've got. Lawrence Toafili, Trey Benson, the new kid that y'all was just talking about, Rodney Hill, CJ Campbell. There's just so many different backs there that will be able to do so many different things that I don't think Florida State ever falls short when it comes to rushing the ball. James, a little bit about, our attack in the air is going to be probably the best that we've got to see in the past 5 years for sure, but possibly the past decade, all the way back to the 2013 National Championship team, because it's very similar in players. You've got the big receivers like Kelvin Benjamin. You've got a couple of smaller receivers like the Rashad Green that could really show out this year, like Winston Wright, because I think Winston Wright's going to have one of the best years as a wide receiver and return man that anybody could have. But what are your thoughts on the wide receivers and how we'll be able to attack the air this year? It says that you're unmuted, but I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, it was plug. They say my guy Kenny Shaw. We forgot about my guy Kenny Shaw as well. But
too many.
Yeah, so many weapons they had. And the tight end position. So like right now, what they have is just crazy. You've got really 3 tight ends because I think everybody discounts Biscuit and what he can bring to the table. But and we hope that I can't think of the young man's name from Shorter, the new tight end. Was it
Kyle Morlock.
Yeah, we're hoping that Murlock is everything that we want him to be, but we've seen what Jaheim Bell does. So let's just use Jaheim Bell as a wide receiver because that's what he really is. He was recruited as a wide receiver, the bigger kid, but he's somebody that can come in and actually give you some looks at wide receiver. He can stretch the field. You've got, it's really not even just so much that. I always love to go back to the quote that Kenny Dillingham told me. And I remember at first I thought he was crazy. And then I saw them bring these guys in. And I remember it was almost a year ago. We're coming up on the first day of spring ball again, and I'll be out there. And hopefully I'll make the same tweet I made a year ago. I said, this is the best first day of spring I've seen in 5 years. Hopefully I'll say the best one I've seen in 6. But Kenny told me that if you get average athletes around Jordan Travis, you have a Heisman Trophy candidate. Now, I do believe that this is me holding him to a standard that's maybe fair, maybe not fair. I think there was a couple of times for greatness that he allowed to slip. I think Clemson would have been a great opportunity to be able to show your greatness. NC State, a touchdown away or any kind of score away from being able to be solidified as one of the great ones. But this year is the year he comes back. And if he wants to go to the NFL and shake doubters, he's got to show that he's great. And that he's one of the great quarterbacks to play at Florida State, and which I think he can do. I think we are going to go as far as his legs and arms can take us. I just hope that he finds the better combination of using both, because I think that's what's going to make our running game go. Seeing as Trey Benson is very much so a hard-nosed runner, doesn't have the vision that Trayshawn Ward had. But if you're able to keep the guys honest by really pulling it on the zone read, and you're able to make the D-line know that they can't just pin their ears back and come at you like a pocket passer, that you are willing to exploit them to where they have to keep a spy in on you. And now we have one-on-one matchups, and we have the fourth guys to play us honest. I think this could be and also like 13 with the schedule the way it lines up. This could be one of those seasons that could, dare I say, break records with just what they have coming back.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, I've let you know where to follow James at. James also has another YouTube channel. James, let them know which one that one is. And then Chip, after James is done, let them know where they can follow you again. And then I'm going to wrap this thing up here at the end.
Big Game James _36 for the personal YouTube. We're going to start putting some of my day in the lives of the Super Bowl weekend up. We already do that on the Sports Den page. But you'll see a lot more unique content coming out of that. A lot of behind the scenes stuff on the at Big Game James _36, and a lot more of the processed real good things. The one that I'm excited about on Sports Den is when you're going to go and see. I'm going to make you hungry, because you're going to see me eat up the Super Bowl and all the different food things that they have for us, and some of the cool stuff. Again, if you go in and you get that $100 package, $99.99 package, you're eligible to go wherever I go. If you want to do something, you want to get sideline passes to a game, FSU game, you want to get some unique merch, you want to be able to go party it up, just let me know. Even down to, I'll make sure you get my rates for hotel rooms. Like, we're going to hook you up at that level, because I want you to experience things my way. But packages start at $3.99. That will have you be a subscriber to be able to comment and do a lot of different things, man. I appreciate you guys, and as always, go Noles.
Have a good one, James. Appreciate you.
Hey, you can follow me at Unconquered 850 on Facebook. It's a growing group. You can also find me on Twitter under Chip Westerly 9, and then I have Unconquered 850 attached to it, and on Instagram under Chip Westerly 9. I also want to plug, Chris. I got mine in finally from John. The Trey Benson. It's got Tennessee Street and Stadium Drive. It's number 2 of 8. I didn't get the 3 of 8. That would have made TB3 happy, but Hey man, it's a sharp looking card. You need to go check out the site, dude. That's he's got some good stuff.
Absolutely. Chip, appreciate you coming on as always. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I'm trying to give you as much information as I possibly can. The other guy that I was talking about, as far as recruit goes, is Norrell White. He's a 4-star. His top 5 are Florida State, Mississippi State, LSU, Ole Miss, and Arkansas. Make sure that you go check his film out as well. Norrell is a great athlete. He's in as an athlete as far as I know. But we're hot on the trail for JoJo Trader. I think Florida State has to land JoJo Trader. It's something that we have to do. It's not in question. I think that's one of the guys that you make sure that you get. Obviously, the biggest guy that you want to make sure that you keep, that you've had for such a long time, is Cam Davis. You got to make sure that you pull that kid. You got to make sure that Florida State's where he ends up. Dynamic 5-star running back out of Georgia. Everyone's going after him. Everyone's going after pretty much everybody that we have verbally committed and also who we're trying to get verbally committed. Florida State is doing a phenomenal job in the 2024 class so far. They really are. It's completely amped up from the previous years that the Norvell and Air has done. Florida State is doing a prestige job at making sure that they stay in contact, that they make sure that that they have the athletes understand what we want to do with them here, how they will grow as not only athletes, but as young men, as student athletes, what we are going to bring to the table for them, and also what they can do for us as far as Florida State goes, what they'll be able to do for themselves, what they'll be able to do for their families. NIL is a huge deal right now. NIL is a big part of what makes these young men and women feel secure at their university. And Florida State's doing a better job than most schools. They're up in the top 3 right now from a ranking system that will be released later, but we get a little bit of access to see it. And Florida State's in the top 3, have been over the past 6 months. Battles In has really flipped the script for Florida State. So a huge shout out to Battles In and what they're doing. Obviously, you can see what they did for Trey Benson and Jordan Travis. Obviously, you can see what Battles In is doing as far as any athlete that has that Battles In logo. It lets you know that Battles In is making sure that athlete and that family is being taken care of by Florida State as far as a whole, as a family. So Battles In deserves a lot of kudos. They deserve a lot of hype because they're doing what they said they were going to do. Where others just talk it, they walk it. So Rising Spear is also doing a great job. Don't let me get that short or nothing like that because they are doing a great job. They were one of the first, and they're still here, and they're still doing a good job. With that, everyone, I hope you had a fantastic weekend. I hope that you had a great Monday back at work. If you took off today because of Super Bowl Sunday, lucky you, and I hope Tuesday treats you better even though you're going back to work. Everyone, catch us again Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Remember, if you haven't become a member, a Platinum Chief member, you get your opportunity to win memorabilia like this, signed by Coach Norvell. Make sure that you become a member. Everyone, y'all have a good rest of your evening and go Noles.